What's happening? What's going on, Jets fans? What are we doing today? It's Monday morning, is it not? Monday morning in June, and I couldn't be more excited to be here. I'll be real honest with you. I'm talking about it being Monday morning, but it's not Monday morning for me. That's some sort of weird time warpy stuff. Right now, it's nighttime. It's quiet everywhere. And this is the only time I have available this weekend to record this. So here I am. We're going to call this one the dark episode. Because I know I have this light ring over here lighting me up. But watch this. That's what it really looks like. Maybe I should record it like this. Oh, creepy like. Let's see. I can't even see the button to put it on now. Hold on. Come on. There we go. Let me lower the light though a little bit. Let's make it warm. So what's up, everybody? This is Green Bean. Welcome to this week's episode of the Green Bean's Jets pod. I'm really psyched to be here. It's almost Father's Day from my perspective. When you hear this, Father's Day will have been before you hear it, obviously. But it's almost Father's Day. And the reason I'm recording this at night is because as of this morning, I put together and devised a plan to enjoy Father's Day. Now, my wife kept asking me, what do you want to do for Father's Day? What do you want for Father's Day? And the truth is, I don't want anything for Father's Day. I don't want, what I want, another drill? You know what I mean? I live in an RV. I travel around. Like, I don't need anything else, man. If I need something, I have it. Anything else is just weight I don't want to carry around or stuff I have to put away. I don't have a place for it. It's all that type of thinking. So finally, you know, she's like, what do you want to eat? What do you want to do? I said, you know, let me just lay down all day. I can go for one of those, you know, like a lay down day. And then this morning I had this idea. Why don't I drive 2.5 hours to Six Flags, New England? When I went there, you know, on our coaster tour, when we went up, it was a crazy day. It was their opening weekend, and they were not ready for it. So they have 12 coasters. We were able to get on 4. And we spent almost the whole day there. It was quite crazy. Now, in their defense, one coaster I did get on twice, so technically 5 coasters. But there are so many more to do, and it bothers me. It hurts my soul. So my daughter has zero interest in doing that 2.5 hour ride with me, because don't forget, you got to come back. That's 5 hours of driving. My wife has no, and she's like, hey man, enjoy your Father's Day. Sounds good to me. Go have your day. But my son is in like Flynn, so he and I are going to wake up at 5:30 a.m. in just a couple hours from now, and we're going to drive down to Six Flags, New England, hopefully be there for opening gate, and just blast through those coasters, do all the coasters that we didn't do, and it's going to be great. So that's what I'm going to do. So therefore, I have no time to get this done, because that's the day I usually do it. So here we are, and I'm in a good mood because of it. I'm in a good mood. I love talking to you guys. I love doing this stuff, and I love going on roller coasters. So I get to do, and I love hanging with my son. Who doesn't like that? My son's awesome. So I get to do a lot tomorrow. So this is great. Today's episode, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this stuff. I've done a little touch of research for you. And there's all this talk about our coaching staff. Now, interestingly, I was already preparing to do this for this week's episode. So I was just doing little bit of accumulation of information types of sessions for each one of our coaches. I was going to do a coaching staff breakdown, and then all of a sudden CBS decides to release this just ridiculous rookie head coach rating thing, this list of the rookie head coaches, and it's just so funny, man. And hopefully we've been able to enlighten you to what's really going on out there with the New York Jets narrative. Like, there are people that say, oh, you guys are just too sensitive. There is no narrative about the New York Jets. You're going to tell me that CBS isn't banking on the New York Jets fans going nuts and clicking the hell out of this stupid article and writing all kinds of comments and tweeting it and all those things. Like, even right now, I'm making a video about it. They know how we are, so the one thing they're going to do is they're going to poke us, and they're going to tell us we suck. They love for us to suck. That's what their whole motivation is for writing these lists and these articles. They put Dan Campbell and this guy from the Eagles. What's his name again? Nick Sirianni, I think his name is, right? Let me double check here. Look at this guy. Nick Sirianni. So, from the Eagles, just so we're clear, he got hired out of nowhere. Nobody at the time thought it was a good move. And I mean nobody. It was like, who? And then he came out and said that stupid comment about when they're drafting players, sometimes it comes down to rock, paper, scissors. And that wasn't a joke. He wasn't joking. He was talking about sometimes you just, like when you don't know who to pick, you got to just pick up the magic 8-ball. Kind of like, this is who we're talking about. Now, that's bad enough. He's ahead of Robert Saleh on the rookie head coaching list, how good they are. Dan Campbell is ahead of him too. Dan Campbell is the guy who literally said that he's going to bite people's kneecaps off. And went through this. He tried to talk himself out of that comment, and it just kept getting deeper. And then he falls down, and then you get up again, and then you got to punch him in the face. And dude, the guy's a complete shit show waiting to happen. The only thing I like about the Detroit Lions right now is that they hired Aaron Glenn as a defensive coordinator. I'm half inclined to root for the damn guy because I love him so much. But I'm not anymore. Not since they put out this list, man. They gotta fail, and they're gonna fail. That's the funny thing about it. Let's remind ourselves of one thing too. The Detroit area wanted Robert Saleh so much that the Detroit and Michigan legislature actually they prepared a letter and sent it to the ownership of Detroit on why Robert Saleh should be the choice for their head coach. They viewed him as the guy that they've been waiting for their whole lives. That's how they painted it. You can look it up. You can find the letter. This is not fake. So they don't get Robert Saleh. They hire Dan Campbell after everybody basically shunned him. And now he's somehow going to be a better coach than Robert Saleh. Also, Nick Sirianni. I'm telling you, I have a bunch of Eagles fan friends. When they hired that guy, it was just like, I have no idea. From winning a Super Bowl 4 or 5 years ago, with this magic staff, with all these prominent guys, and then Wentz, he got injured, so he was their starter next year. Like, they had this great team, super stud defensive line. You had Frank Reich, all these guys. They break up this team, and then there's a little Howie Roseman, Peterson squabble. Peterson loses, and now they bring in this guy to be a lemming for Howie Roseman, and it's a laughing stock. My Eagles friends, they are absolutely disheartened by the hire of that guy. Now, we don't know what he's going to do, but to say that he's going to somehow be better, that he's a better option than Robert Saleh, is laughable. Dan Campbell, please, anybody saying that is specifically trying to bait you into an argument. Okay, that's the only motive. That's the only reason. There's no one in the NFL. No one in the NFL that thinks Dan Campbell's a better choice. Now, we don't know what the future holds, but what we have right now, and as we stand here right now, no one in the NFL would say Dan Campbell is a better choice to lead your organization than Robert Saleh. Urban Meyer. Please. Urban Meyer has never coached in the NFL, man. Never. Okay? The last time, the last guys, what was it? Nick Saban, and who was the other guy? What the hell was that guy's name? Anyway, these great college coaches it's not that college coaches can't come into the NFL and be great. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's these guys they've built this name in college, and then they're courted because, we just need their name. Like a Nick Saban. He comes to the NFL, he's gone in 2 years. Why? Because they're not kids up here. Urban Meyer. Tim Tebow, dude. Tim Tebow. Didn't Urban Meyer already hire a guy that was like under sexual assault charges and all that sort of stuff? They had to fire him already. Please, man. The guy's been the head coach there for mere months, and they already have had to fire some of the staff that he hired. And by the way, he knew these charges are not new. They knew about these charges. And if he didn't, then there's no vetting process going on, which shows they're even more slapdick than if they knew and made the choice. So it's just a funny thing, man. It's a funny thing. And the only reason I'm mentioning it is because, number one, I have this whole thing prepared on our coaches, so it slides right in. It's such a great opener. Number two, because I want to remind you of the narrative, the national narrative against the New York Jets and our fans, us, you. This is the narrative against you. And if you're not taking it personally, then I don't know what you're watching. I mean, you don't have to get all bent out of shape about it, but dude, just know it's happening. They want you to be unhappy. They want you to be unhappy. They want your kids to be unhappy if they're little Jets fans running around. They want me to be unhappy. That's what they want. They don't care. No matter what happens, they want to take it, spin it, and say Jets suck. And when we don't suck, they're going to be miserable. And then what they'll do, they'll come around and say, we were always fans of Robert Saleh. Just remember this stuff. Remember it. It's not objective journalism. Please. So, with that said, like I said, it's such a nice little segue into what I want to talk to you guys about tonight. Which is, are these coaches any good? Are they? We have a whole bunch of question marks. We do. And sometimes when you look at rookie coaches, we don't have only a rookie head coach. We don't only have a rookie quarterback, right? We have other rookies in this staff. Don't forget Joe Douglas is only, in his second year on the job, so he's fresh out of the box too, right? So we have this whole batch of guys, and in the same breath as I sit here and defend them, against the likes of Dan Campbell, Nick Sirianni, David Culley, and Urban Meyer, in the same breath, I'm going to tell you that we're putting a lot of stock in these guys, and the truth is that there are a lot of question marks. But there are things that they can do, things that they say and that they do that can give you an indication of which side of the tracks you're really on. Like, for example, when they hire a head coach and during his introductory press conference, he's clearly on some sort of stimulant, cocaine and/or methamphetamine, and his eyes are twirling out of his head and he speaks in half sentences and he's all weird and looking all creepy and paranoid. That's a good indicator that he's not going to do so well, okay? We knew it then, and we were absolutely 100% correct. But there are things happening right now that could lead you to believe one side or the other. Now, let's talk about what those are. Now, I'm not going to get into Robert Saleh too much, only to start and tell you all of the things I'm about to say about everybody else are a reflection on Robert Saleh, because Robert Saleh is the guy that chose all these other coaches that are coming to be New York Jets staff. They all were chosen by Robert Saleh. More than likely okayed by Joe Douglas just to make sure. But from the way I understand it, man, it's not the way Mike McCagnon did things. He said, hey, Matt Rule, I want you to be our head coach, but I want you to lead the charge, man. But you got to take Greg Williams and Adam Gase with you. These are the guys I want you to hire. It's like, I don't know those guys. I don't like those guys. I have guys that I work very well with I want to bring. No, you're not allowed to do that. Most GMs, they have to okay it through a vetting process and all that sort of jazz. Like Joe Douglas would have figured out that the guy Urban Meyer presented to be the coach of whatever had sexual assault charges, and we're not allowing that shit in here. That's what Joe Douglas would have did. But Jacksonville was just wooed by the name Urban Meyer. Bring anybody you want. But so what Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh more than likely did was Robert Saleh gave him a short list. Here's the guys I want. Let's get them. And Joe Douglas said, okay, look at this guy, this guy, this guy. Do the process. Let me know if there's any red flags. No red flags. Let's go get them. And that's the way that it goes. The coach picks his staff. So again, this is a reflection on Robert Saleh. It can also give you a little bit of insight into how he thinks and how he's going to run the team. So let's get into it, shall we? Dan Campbell, I'll bite your kneecaps off. None shall pass. So let's talk about Jeff Ulbricht. Now, Jeff Ulbricht, if you don't know, is our defensive coordinator. And interestingly, when we were all waiting to hear who our defensive coordinator was going to be, they never really officially announced his hiring up to that point. We heard about Lafleur, we heard about Benton, and then it was in I think it was Salah's introductory press conference. He just said, and when Jeff runs the defense. And they were like, who? Oh yeah, well, Ulbricht. That's our guy. So he just said it as if it was understood. Jeff's my defensive coordinator. Jeff Ulbricht is my guy. Now, why would that be? Well, let's talk about Jeff Ulbricht. Jeff Ulbricht was a third-round pick at linebacker in the year 2000 for the San Francisco 49ers. Sadly, injuries crushed his career. He did win the starting job, and then he just kept getting injured. So his body couldn't hold up to what his skill was and everything. Then he ended up being a coach for the Seattle Seahawks in 2010, and in 2011 he coached with Robert Saleh. They were dual quality control coaches. All right. So then he goes back to college, and he's the linebacker special teams coach for UCLA for a couple years. Then he gets hired by the Falcons as their linebacker coach in 2015. Then he's the assistant head coach and linebackers coach. And then he was promoted to defensive coordinator. This is what he's going to say about Saleh. This is Jeff Ulbricht. And these are the things. I'm going to talk about Ulbricht and Lafleur a little bit, and then I'm going to tell you something. Okay? Then we're going to get into this. I got to give you the ingredients, and then we'll make it the pie, huh? All right. We've always had a long-standing relationship, Ulbricht said. Since Seattle, we've always stayed in constant contact, always shooting ideas back and forth to each other. I'm really excited to see where he's taken this defense and where he's evolved it. So here's the thing, and I want to point this out to you guys because we all have relationships like this. There are times when you're starting out in something. There are peers. You have a group of people that you're starting to do something with, whether that's a career, whether it's some sort of hobby. And there are guys that you're in there on the ground floor with, and you get close to them. Your paths separate, but the whole time, Robert Saleh's on his path, Jeff Ulbricht is on his path, but they're constantly communicating and throwing ideas back and forth and running things across each other because they trust each other. So for the past decade, these two guys, no matter where they've been talking and communicating and really running their plans by each other, giving each other ideas. Hey, this is what I'm thinking. How do you think that's going to work? Blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. Because they developed that at the ground floor. They started together in the same place. They had the same mentors. And they trusted each other. So this is a long relationship here, 10 years. I think a big part of it was the fact that I was going to come here and we had a similar belief system in that this was going to be about technique and simplicity. And then at the same time, I wasn't going to get in the way of running the stuff that they had in San Francisco. Yeah, I'll add some wrinkles, but the foundation of this is what Robert grew it into in San Francisco. So why does he want Jeff Ulbricht to run his defense? Because Jeff Ulbricht knows his defense. He knows it. This is Robert Saleh's defense, but it's not even Robert Saleh's defense. This is Pete Carroll's defense. This is the defense that they came into the league and cut their teeth together, and he's been forging it and molding it and creating it in his own image for the last 4 years or so. Jeff Ulbricht knows that. So he's not coming here. I'm not here to run my own defense. I'm going to add a thing or two, and I'll make the calls. But I'm running Saleh's defense. So Saleh, what do we want Saleh to be? Do we want Rex Ryan? Do we want Adam Gase? Do we want Todd Bowles running their side of the ball? Bruce Coslett, Joe Walton, is that who we want? We've always had this. This guy running one side of the ball. So we want this guy, Robert Saleh. Here's the term we use. We want a CEO head coach. That's what we want. So for a guy whose expertise is defense, that's how he got here. He knows his defense works. He wants his defense installed. But he doesn't want to run the defense. What's the best thing to do? Is to give it to a guy who knows your defense. Inside and out. The guy you've been bouncing things off of for the past 10 years. So I think that this is Saleh talking about Ulbricht. He said, Jeff's got some recall and he's got a lot of great thought and information and scheme that he can bring. So a lot of the Atlanta stuff is going to be part of this, along with the San Francisco stuff. It's going to be a good marriage in terms of not only philosophy, but scheme. Now, this is the most interesting comment for me. Ulbricht's talking about how much he's going to run Saleh's stuff, and Saleh respects Ulbricht so much that he's saying, of course, we're going to run, you know what I mean? He's going to be able to do this and that. And Ulbricht's saying, no, I'm going to run Ulbricht. These are two guys. Usually what we hear, whether it's Benton or Rex or whoever, it's always about mine, me, my defense. Of course that's going to be the way it is, but how they communicate is about each other. That's how they communicate. It's open respect for one another. It's going to be a defense that we haven't seen before, most likely. The foundation is Saleh's defense, which was Legion of Boom type stuff with Pete Carroll up there in Seattle. These guys trust each other. It's going to be based upon principle, on technique, on effort and toughness, and really the essence of this game. We're preaching this to the players now, that it's going to be about them and it's not going to be about us. We're not going to give them magical calls that get them out of things. They're just going to have to understand these defenses at the highest level and the techniques within the defenses at the highest level. And that's going to be the last level, the secret sauce, simplicity. Simplicity, though, and the players first. So again, we're hearing this about players, forging the defense around the strengths of the unit that you have. That you have players, they have strengths and weaknesses. You don't squeeze square pegs in round holes because you don't know how to run anything else. We've seen a lot of that. Last year, Gase said, so why didn't you run these plays more? Well, because Perryman, he got hurt, so I couldn't run that play anymore. What? You can't use the other guy you have? You can't use him? No, I don't know how to use him. He's not exactly what I like. So it's an interesting thing with Jeff Ulbricht, and I think the most important thing to take away from there is that while we want a CEO head coach, we don't want him on the field dealing with play calls. He has to manage the entirety of the operation. That's what a head coach does, and we haven't seen that in a while. But the guy running his defense knows his defense in and out from the word go. Saleh trusts him without question. Ulbricht respects and trusts Saleh without question, and they preach the same things. What Ulbricht just said is exactly what you heard Saleh say to Zach Wilson on the phone. We're not expecting you to come here and save us, man. We don't need you to lift us, kid. Come here, and we're going to lift you. You'll see. Don't have that in your head that you got to come save us. We don't need saving. So what do you think of that? All right, so we have Jeff Ulbricht as our defensive coordinator. Now, when I'm talking about Mike Lafleur to me is one of the biggest question marks. I'm not necessarily afraid. It's not like, oh, God, this guy. I'm actually very hopeful. He was the guy that I hoped Robert Saleh would bring. You know, there's a running game coordinator, Mike McDaniel, who I like. But I wanted the passing game coordinator. I wanted Mike Lafleur. It was just who I was hoping. Okay, I would have been happy with either one, truth be told. This was the guy I was hoping was going to come with him to run the offense. Why? Because he's the guy who's been with Kyle Shanahan the longest. He's been with Kyle Shanahan. This was their third stop together. He's had him right by his side for it's in Atlanta, in Cleveland, or Washington. It was like he's been with him the whole time. And that's what I wanted. If you're going to mimic and take a guy, you're trying to get through that tree, you're trying to find out which seed falling from the tree is actually going to bear fruit, you want to take the guy who's been next to him the whole time, the longest, the guy who shows the most promise. And not for nothing, his family bloodline is also pretty good too. And that's the other interesting thing with Saleh and the Lafleurs. Mike Lafleur told stories about his brother and Saleh when they were working at the ground level. They didn't have any money. They used to come over to his house, and mom would make them food. They had to eat there and use the pool. That's where he slept. These guys, it runs deep. Now, it's not to that nepotism level, right? It's like, yeah, I'm hiring my son because nobody else will hire him. And that's what you saw with respect. From what I understand, he's a good linebackers coach. But that was with Greg Williams' son. Greg Williams was the only one really talking him up and hiring him. And for a while in the beginning, it was how Rex and Rob were getting jobs too for their father, like in Arizona. Right? So it's not to that nepotism level, like nobody's going to hire the guy, so I got to hire him. It's not like that. But at the same time, it's thick with these guys. These guys have known each other for a long time. They not only know, schematically what kind of things they're prone to run and all that. They know about the quality of the human being. That's what Saleh's looking for. Do you think he's bringing his friend's kid's brother if he thinks he's going to fail for him? No. So Kyle Shanahan has had Mike Lafleur next to him for almost 10 years. Robert Saleh takes him with him knowing his older brother, the Green Bay head coach, they're like brothers. So Mike Lafleur is like his little brother, and that's the guy he brings with him. So, couple things. Mike Lafleur is 34 years old, so finally we get this young, up-and-coming offensive mind, which a lot of Jets fans have been crying for a long time. It's what we wanted when we got Adam Gase, okay? And we could kind of say, I guess Adam Gase is youngish. We tried to get with it. But this is the kind of thing that people have been wanting. It's that Sean McVay mold, you know what I mean? That young offensive mind who's not like, he's not old and stale, refreshing, cutting edge, that sort of thing. So he started coaching in 2009. And he coached all over the place, man. Elmhurst College, St. Joseph's College, the Atlanta Falcons with Kyle Shanahan, Cleveland Browns with Kyle Shanahan, 49ers with Kyle Shanahan. He was literally Kyle Shanahan's most trusted right-hand man. This is his guy. So the thing that I like about Mike Lafleur, number one, he's talking about creating the offense around the players. He said that Denzel Mims is not the typical guy for the offense. He doesn't have the typical skill set, but that he absolutely can get him involved. And then I like also that he said, look, Mims has to, we have to show Mims how to work properly. Like, as much as I like Denzel Mims, as much as I like Mekhi Becton, I'm really happy to hear that these guys are talking like this about these guys. It's not, look, your pedigree doesn't get you in the gate. It doesn't give you the keys to this car. We have to know that you know how to drive it. And I really like some of the things that Mike Lafleur is saying. Did you guys know that one of the players that he has a history with and thinks very highly of is Trevon Wesco? Did you guys know that? They met at the Senior Bowl and have a fantastic relationship from what I've gathered. Trevon Wesco, Herndon. So here's another thing that Mike Lafleur has said that I find fascinating. They were asking him questions about dropped passes, and I think it might even been a little bit about Chris Herndon and everything. He said, dropped passes don't mean much to me in practice. They don't. Dropped passes are going to happen. What I want to see is that the guy's in the right place, that the guy's ingesting the scheme and what I need him to do. That's what I'm looking for. If he drops a pass on the way to perfecting all that, I don't care. It's fine. I need to see other things. Now, it's funny because what do we get from the reporters? Drop pass, would-be sack, blocked pass. That's all the stuff we hear and see because the reporters that we have don't understand what they're watching. They don't. So they can't give us how well someone's really doing. All you know about are those simple level 101 stats. Pass, reception, tipped pass, like that sort of stuff. That's all they know. So, but Mike Lafleur let us know that has nothing to do if somebody's doing well or not. Now, look, if he drops every pass we throw to him, yeah, okay, might be a problem. But what Mike Lafleur is talking about is a much more intricate and deeper level of installation that I think is fantastic. Here's another thing he said about Mims. He said, "I'm excited to work with him," Lafleur said. "He's eager. He's a really cool dude to work with, but he's just going to have to get out there. And again, it's just going to be reps and just going and understanding the speed of the game." So look, man, we talk about Mims working with the twos. Now, what do we know about Mims from college? We know he's clutch. We know he's got fantastic hands. We know he can break tackles. We know he's a high pointer. He can jump. He can win the jump ball. Okay, we know all these things about him. What we don't know is whether or not he knows how to outwork the other guy pressing for his position. We don't know that about him yet. Okay, 6'3", 4.3 speed gets you on the, and you can catch that. That gets you on the field in college. In the NFL, when you have other guys breathing down your neck, that might not be enough. So what Mike Lafleur is talking about here is, yeah, he's a great guy. He's got all the skills in the world. But he's got to get out there, which means, dude, you need to take care of these hamstrings. You need to do the things we're telling you to do. And if you can't, then you can't. But at least they're identifying this stuff now. And they're pushing these young players that have the ability to be great. They're not just letting their greatness, their potential greatness, be the governor, which is what all of our regimes have done. All the way back to Parcells. Remember, Parcells came here and said there's somebody on this team that everybody loves that doesn't even know how to work out. Does not even know how to work out yet. We were like, who is it? Who is it? They didn't tell us for a couple of years. We found out later he was talking about friggin' Mo Lewis. One of the best linebackers in Jets history. Didn't even know how to work out. So, but nobody pushed him. He's great. He's a great guy. He's a great player. Why do I got to push him for? He knows what he's doing. No, they don't know what they're doing. You have to push them. So when you look at Ulbricht and Lafleur, they're the leaders, right? You got Robert Saleh, Ulbricht, and Lafleur. That's the triangle up top. The things that they're saying when they're interviewed, what I find most interesting is that they don't give you anything that can tip their hand and give you an indication of how they're thinking long term. They don't give away anything, yet they're still fascinating to listen to. So, like so many regimes we've had in the past, in order for them not to give anything away, they had to be deadpan. Like a Todd Bowles. Well, we got to play better. Or Gase, I got to look at the tape. I don't know. I got to look at the tape. Maybe if Robbie would have ran faster. Maybe if he would have put him, maybe if he would have went where I told him to go, like that kind of stuff. What this organization, what this staff is doing thus far, is they're able to keep our attention with just killer facts and thoughts. So they're able to keep our interest without telling us anything. And what that says about our staff is that they have a high level of communication skills, which is the most important thing. For a staff, you have 53 guys and 10 on the practice squad now. Okay? So that's 63 young men with egos and all this stuff. This little batch of men, these coaches, have to be able to get those guys to shed whatever baloney's in their head and be willing to learn their system and do what they want them to do over what their heart tells them to do, which is to go for theirs. If they can't communicate those things, you end up with the Jamal Adams, you end up with the Trumaine Johnsons, Darryl Roberts, all these guys, Sheldon Richardson. You end up with those guys that feel like they gotta put it on them. They gotta say it because there's no leader. So right off the gate, communication skills, and that's the thing that tells me that we have a shot. It's not just their background. It's not just where they came from or what they've done. There's all kinds of stats about their offenses and all that, and I'll get into a little bit of that with the next two guys. I'm not going to do the whole staff, so don't get worried. Okay? But there's a couple guys I want to get into. Communication skills, guys. Robert Saleh is known as a master motivator. We didn't know much about Mike Lafleur or Jeff Ulbricht in that respect. Guess what? They're amazing communicators. And that's what you need, because for them, not only is it the players, it's also their underlings, their position coach. You have to be able to convey your vision to your coaches so they invariably teach what you want taught without deviation. It has to happen that way. Everybody has to be on the same page, moving the exact same direction. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't work. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. You could have 10 guys doing everything 100% correct. One guy doesn't, it's over. It doesn't matter what those 10 guys did. This guy gave up a touchdown. Real quick, I want to talk about John Benton. Really quick. John Benton is our offensive line coach, and I happen to be very high on this guy. But I like John Benton, and John Benton is one of the more respected offensive line coaches in the league. His 4 years as the offensive line coach in San Francisco, top 10 rushing. He had the 4th most rushing yards in the league over that time. So only 3 teams over that 4 years had a better cumulative numbers. And he had the #1 rushing attack in 2019. With the running backs that he did that with are the Mosterts of the world, the undrafted free agents, basically. These are the guys that he does that with. All right, so his offensive line happens to be able to make really no-name running backs look very, very good. And it's not 1 year, 2 years. It's consistent. He had 17 years as a collegiate coach before he came to the NFL, and he's been doing it here for 20 years. So these are the teams. He had top 10 rushing attacks in numerous locations. Dolphins, Texans, Niners. He's had Pro Bowlers all over the place. But the key one I wanted to remind you is, remember Arian Foster? The guy was another undrafted free agent, came out of nowhere and led the league in rushing with over 1,600 yards. John Benton was the offensive line coach then. So it's consistent. Everywhere he goes, the rushing attack is super, super strong. It's been for different coaches, the whole thing. It's consistent with him. Plus, the passer ratings under him are good too. His lines are very good at protection, but they're dominant in the run game. So it's a good thing. John Benton is going to be an upgrade. I can't wait to see what he does with our O-line. I can't wait. So here's where it gets nuts for me. This is where I'm scared. Then we're going to wrap this one up, okay? The Jets have not had a quarterback coach in the house since 2017. The last quarterback coach we had was Kevin Patullo under Chan Gailey. Or no, he might have been under Morton. So we haven't had a quarterback coach. Jeremy Bates didn't have one. Adam Gase didn't have one. We haven't had a quarterback coach in our house since 2017. It's crazy to think. The whole Sam Darnold experiment, by the way, he had no coach. So we have a quarterback coach now. And the scary part about it is he's never been a quarterback coach before. Never. He only has 3 years of coaching experience, period. And that as a quality assurance coach. So every quality assurance coach gets their first gig as a position coach. It happens all the time. It's fine. But for a team like the Jets, who've not had a quarterback coach in forever and hasn't had really stellar quarterback play in a very long time, it's kind of unnerving to think that, okay, this is how we're going to come out of the dark. His name is Rob Calabrese. Again, 3 years as a coach. All of them as a quality assurance coach for the Denver Broncos. As quality assurance coach, he was specifically working with the quarterbacks, so that's good. And he happened to work with 6 of them in the last 2 years for the Denver Broncos, so he's learning in the fast lane. I'll give him that, but I don't love it. They happen to like him very much. They think the world of him, but again, I don't like it. I don't love it. But here's what they did as a response to that. They also hired a man named Greg Knapp. who gave a public interview the other day. It's fantastic. You got to listen to it. So Greg Knapp is the passing game coordinator and is also specifically working with the quarterback. So even though Rob Calabrese has the title of quarterback coach, Greg Knapp is overseeing that side of the organization. Now, who is Greg Knapp? Greg Knapp has been a quarterback coach, special teams coach, really mostly quarterback coach or offensive coordinator and passing game coordinator for 26 years in the NFL. 26 years. Want to hear a couple fun stats about him? He was a quarterback coach for 22 of those years. 22 or quarterback coach or offensive coordinator for 22 years. And then he had some other stuff sprinkled in there. But most of the time it was quarterback coach or offensive coordinator. He had 3 years in Atlanta with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan over those 3 years threw 13,971 yards, most in the league for that stretch, under Greg Knapp. He's had 9 different quarterbacks in his 22 years as a quarterback coach or offensive coordinator. 9 different quarterbacks threw for 4,000 yards. He's had 11 Pro Bowl quarterbacks in that time. They're Jeff Garcia, Michael Vick, Steve Young, and Peyton Manning. And here's the real interesting nugget. And this is where it can get wacky. You ready for this one? Greg Knapp was the passing game coordinator for the Denver Broncos when Adam Gase was the offensive coordinator. And afterward. Isn't that something? So, clearly, even though Peyton Manning loves Adam Gase, that's all well and good. They talk till wee hours of the night about offensive schematics. That's great. But when it came time for the game plan, we watched him for 4 years in Miami. He looked like shit, other than the first drive. The opening drives, Gase was pretty good at. Other than that, he looked like a mess. 4 years in Miami and 2 years with us, garbage. But for some reason in Denver, they looked magical. Could it have been Greg Knapp? Could it? Another little tidbit was Greg Knapp was also the offensive coordinator when Michael Vick became the first quarterback to rush for 1,000 yards. So Greg Knapp's been around, man. Greg Knapp knows his stuff. Greg Knapp has been an offensive coordinator, he's been a quarterback's coach, and he's been a passing game coordinator for 26 years. That's older than half of you have been alive, right? Half. So the fact that we have a young up-and-coming quarterback coach, all of a sudden, when you add Greg Knapp to the mix, I love it. That's how you develop a coach. You have Mike Lafleur, you have Calabrese, young guys. Then you bring in John Benton and Greg Knapp. 25 years and 26 years or so. It's 50 years of coaching experience right there to mix in with the younger guys. Clearly they think highly of Rob Calabrese, but they got Greg Knapp to back him up and teach him. Teach him how to be the coach that he can be. Greg Knapp has been a success. For his whole career is successful. Almost. So, should we be optimistic, guys? Should we? Should we be feeling like we're feeling? Does the list from CBS take the wind out of your sails? Maybe I'm just looking at it through green goggles. Are we gonna suck again? Oh no, we suck again! Is that what it is? When you look at it and you break it down, and there's so much more. I mean, I could talk about this for 3 hours. I can. I'm trying to give you like the highlight stuff, right? The best I can. I think we're going to be okay. Number one, the relationships between these coaches is so solid. It's incredible. The top triangle between Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbricht, and Mike Lafleur, dude, they've known each other forever. And they've been close and tight forever. They've all risen on their own. But they've been communicating with each other the whole time. Then you add guys, Calabrese, young up-and-coming quarterback coach, with his backup Greg Knapp, 26 years as a very successful offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, and passing game coordinator. John Benton, our running game coordinator and offensive line coach. He's been doing this forever too. He's had many successful seasons in that capacity. I think it's time to feel pretty good. And that's not even going into a lot of the other guys like, guess who? Miles Austin, Leon Washington, Tony Oden. Let me tell you, he gave another great, it's our defensive backs coach. Dude, he gave a fantastic interview. If you haven't seen the Tony Oden media availability, watch it. It's entertaining. It's like you could just sit there and listen to these guys. And that's why it just keeps going. Our coaches have fantastic communication skills, and it's not always the case with us. Remember listening to Casey Rogers? I had no idea what he was talking about 80% of the time. Dude, we have a lot of good coaches. A lot. And Leon's back. Leon's back. Let him go help out Brant Boyer. I didn't even get into Brant Boyer because he's been here longer than anybody. We know Brant Boyer. So, guys, that's going to just about do it. I'm going to try to keep these to as short as... I thought this one was going to be 30 minutes. It's just I can't do it. I was fucking blabbermouth. So, anyway, I think it's time to allow ourselves to at least feel confident. You don't have to go nuts. You don't have to throw eggs at your Dolphin fan friend's house or anything like that. Not yet. But it's time to allow ourselves to feel good. Let CBS try to rub us. Let them try. Let them do what they do. There's no way in hell Dan Campbell's a better head coaching prospect than Robert Saleh. It's not real. Nick Sirianni, please. David Culley, give me a break. It's not real. Robert Saleh was the one that most of these teams tried to interview. Don't forget, Robert Saleh was on his way down to Philadelphia when we called him and said stop. They didn't get their chance. Okay? That's who they wanted. And don't forget how bad Michigan wanted Robert Saleh as well. I bet the ownership just didn't want to be told what to do. That's it. It's like, you know how this stuff goes. So anyway, guys, that's going to just about do it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I didn't even do that this time. I'm in Maine. I'm in the southern part of Maine in Ogunquit for one more day. And then I'm heading up to Bar Harbor, baby. Acadia National Park. I can't wait. I can't wait. But don't forget, like and subscribe right here, Greenbeanjetsfan. And if you'd like to follow my full-time coaster tour and all my travel extravaganza wonderment, go ahead over to Full-Time Coaster Tour on YouTube as well. Give me a sub there. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, don't forget, stop over at Jetnation.com. Get in the conversation in our forums. And you can also like and subscribe over at Jetnation's YouTube page. And that's where our podcast lives and everything like that with Alex, Glenn, and Dylan. Great podcast. So, guys, I hope you're having a great night. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're having a wonderful whatever it is that you're doing when you listen to this. With that, thanks for watching. Go Jets.